Hello, everybody. Welcome to our high school info night for the spring. We tonight are going to be going over a fair amount of information. High school sailing is another aspect of sailing that we offer here at PYSF, but it does have a number of rules and regulations and such that we need to live under. And the first time when you enter into the high school program, it can be a little overwhelming and a little confusing. And so we're going to try and hopefully walk through all the steps and all the differences that we have for the high school group tonight. And then we're going to have a bunch of questions at the end. So everybody is on mute, and I'm just going to ask that everybody, write down your questions if you have them, and we're going to go for questions at the end of the slides. So first off, I always like to start our info nights with going over what our mission is at PYSF, because this shapes everything that we do. And I'm going to read it for those that might be driving home from work and not able to look at their screen. Hopefully you're not looking. It is to provide a comprehensive sailing program for all youth in the Bay Area, from Learn to Sail to nationally recognized travel teams. Our classes stress safety and cultivate the values of character, community, and competitiveness. Our program instills lifelong enjoyment and stewardship of our waterways, oceans, and world environment. And the values at PYSF, those are the three C's that are in our mission statement. So character, community, and competitiveness. We want to be accountable, respectful, positive, and team players. We are an active and positive part of PYSF and the sailing communities. It's a very big community. We are not our standalone program and nothing else, right? Just within our body of water, we have a lot of sailing communities that we all work together to make it work. And obviously we are a racing program, and so competitiveness is part of our mission. We do work hard every day to improve and to help your team improve, which is a big part of our high school program as well. I'm going to take a moment. So for those that are new to our program and have just joined in the high school team, you're in 8th, 9th grade, or you've just found us, this is a picture of all the coaches that we have for the spring season. And it also kind of lists the different types of classes we have. So we have our opties. Some of our opties are in Florida right now competing. Our 420 race team is on the water right now with John. They're going to be heading to Florida next weekend as well with John and Renee. And then we obviously have all of these guys that coach our high school program as well. And most of our coaches overlap and coach many different classes. On the call, I believe I can see we have Chris. Chris, you want to say hi?
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris. A little bit about myself. I started sailing with PY back in 2004. So I've been here a long time. I've been off and on, but I always love coming back, and I always love coaching. I'm going to be primarily responsible for the high school. I'm going to be helping Todd with keel boats, and I will also be leading the 420 intro course. I'm very excited to see all these people, new people. I've had an opportunity to meet our new recruits this week, and I'm very excited. Everyone seems very switched on and ready to get into racing. So nice to meet everybody, and let me know if you have any questions.
Awesome. And most of you have heard, by this point, you've heard from Hannah via email. Sometimes she's called and talked with people with questions. But Hannah, do you want to say hello and put a face to the behind the email?
Hi, everybody. It's me. You get all your emails from me. Same thing with Chris, like background. I've been here in the Bay Area sailing. Chris and I actually raced against each other growing up, which is awesome. And I work mainly with like the Learn to Sail guys and getting more into like admin and sending out all your fun emails. And just like working with the people as they go through their pathway. But yeah, that's me.
Exactly. Hannah definitely sees everybody from the beginning all the way through high school ages. Todd is also on the call. Todd is one of our high school coaches and is on full time. So right now we're very busy finishing up a deck over at West Point that most of you have seen the construction, but I think Todd is still there, sitting on the deck right now, mid construction.
I am sitting on the deck right now. Yeah, it's quite a large deck and will soon be finished and for everyone to enjoy. When I'm not building decks or fixing boats, I'm coaching with the FJ Intro and the keel boats, both the keel boat class and racing, and then the keel boats that we incorporate into the high school practices. So I do a lot of keel boat and big boat racing, like all over the place, and love to share that with you guys and see you guys develop your skills in the keel boats and FJs.
Awesome. Todd is I don't know if you mentioned it, but you were also a Bay Area native.
I went to Los Altos High School. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. And Todd and I met each other in Hawaii when we were going to college. Yep. Go Bows. Josh or Jack. I'm pretty sure that Jack is on the call. Maybe not. Maybe I haven't seen him. Josh and Jack are both of those guys. So they are PY alum as well, which is fantastic. Josh and Jack both went to design tech for high school and have branched off and done all sorts of different sailing, single-handed sailing, double-handed, foiling, literally a little bit of everything, keelboat racing. And it's great. They're another wealth of knowledge. So all of our coaches bring something different to the table, which is nice. So for our high school program, we literally have people that have sailed about, 2 hours of their life, and some that have sailed since they were, before they knew anything and they were 3. And all of our coaches have similar backgrounds as well. So those guys are not going to be at every practice, but they will be at all of our practices that are on the bigger side. And you'll definitely be seeing them at the Bays events. We'll talk about the difference of the different types of regattas, but those guys will be coaching at those. And Katie, who I am pretty sure cannot make the call tonight, I don't think she's on it, but interrupt me if you are. Katie is one of our coaches as well. Katie grew up in San Diego. So she's a little bit younger than I am, but I'm from San Diego as well. And we had a pretty similar upbringing, lots of racing as, kids. And then we did Olympic campaigns, and she is currently let's see if I can get it right, a ship manager. Gosh, I don't even know what the word is, but she went to CMA, and she actually is pretty cool. She is in charge of a lot of stuff. And then she's also just loves sailing and kind of teaches all the classes that all of us teach. And she starts from the very beginning, loves the little kids, and is, a high level racer as well. So kind of the full package, which is great. Next, I'm going to have Hannah. You're going to take the next couple of slides, just kind of giving a background of what everybody should be thinking about bringing to practice.
Awesome. So one of the big things, you guys can all ask me other questions if I don't get to what you have questions about. But one of the big things is we want you guys bringing your own life jackets. We have life jackets, but they're mainly for if you forget them. Same with helmets. So just as of gear, you want to make sure you're purchasing life jackets and making sure that it's a short one and it's not going down too far when you sit. It doesn't pop up. The other thing is that we want to make sure that we're not wearing a lot of cotton, because cotton, once it gets wet, you stay really cold. So just making sure all these things that are listed here, none of those layers should be cotton layers. And then the last thing is just making sure that it kind of moves into the next slide, is that you are bringing an extra mask or 5 extra masks or whatever, but as long as you've got one in a plastic bag, so just in case when you're on the water, if it gets wet, you can pull out a plastic bag, put your dry mask on, because at all times on land, we really want to be wearing our masks. Which is a good chunk of the time when we're rigging and de-rigging and all of that. So making sure that you've got options and extras and you're never without a mask. Last thing, just remember if you guys are tested positive after your symptoms, you do your symptom check, you test positive, making sure that you're emailing or messaging Molly or me and letting us know as soon as possible so that we can get it out to everybody to make sure everybody's safe. And my last little slide for a second is communication. So you guys have all gotten emails from me. Most of your emails have had a signal chat link. Those links are specifically so that your coaches can get all the information they need. I know a couple of you have been messaging me privately that hey, I'm not coming today. But that's really what those chats are for. So if you've got something like you're not going to be able to make it one week or whatever, that's what those chats are for. So all of the coaches get that information and not just me. But if you do want to message just me, that's totally fine. And you can do that via Signal or email. The other places to get your information is on our main website on the left side at the very top. There's a bunch of links. Make sure you're joining our mailing list. That one's really important. You get all of Molly's great updates. There are also all of the regatta signups are posted right under that. That's a great place to get your information. If everybody here is for high school, so you all have a link to that Excel sheet that has lots of information on it. If you can't find something there, you can, again, email me or Molly. And those last two are basically, you're going to see them again later in the slides, but those are where you're signing up for your regattas.
Awesome. Okay, so everyone, if you have never heard about high school sailing, this is going to be really helpful. If you've heard about high school sailing and you've done it for a few years, I would guess that this is still going to be really helpful. I tend to find that parents, of the junior that's been doing high school sailing for, they're in their third year, they're still going like, I don't quite understand what this is or that is. So again, we're going to walk through the different levels and the different parts of high school sailing. So this is a map, obviously, of the different districts, and we are part of the Pacific Coast District. You'll see how big we are. So we include Hawaii, and we go inland a little bit as well. All these different districts have sailing teams of some sort. So our overall governing body is called ISSA, so Interscholastic Sailing Association. Over the country, there are 551 schools registered right now for high school sailing. Okay, and we are part of PCISA, so the district that we're in has 88 different schools. On a big year, when probably pre-COVID, when things didn't kind of everything shut down, the biggest our district has been since I've been coaching in high school sailing was about 125. So it fluctuates, depends on how many teams and who's active and, who graduates off to college, and there isn't the feeder team that is coming up behind. And then out of the Pacific Coast district, right, that's really big, we are part of the NorCal League. Okay, so when we do regattas, you typically start at home. You do the NorCal regattas, the ones that are close and easy and local, and you get to sleep in your own bed. And then you start to do the PCISA events, which are the district-wide events. They're bigger, there are a little more rules involved about who can sail with each other. And then you make it to the top of the chain within your district and you go to the nationals. Okay, so in order to go to the nationals, you'd obviously be working your way up the chain. You'd be in Gold Fleet and you'd be finishing in the top 4 or 5 in Gold Fleet. And then all 7 districts get together and do the national championships. So the national championships, just to give everyone a glimpse, there's 4 of them. So it's the different types of sailing that you can do in high school sailing. You can do double-handed sailing, which is the majority of what we do. You can do team racing, which is in 2-person boat as well, but you do a team of 3 versus another team of 3. You can do keel boats, and you can do single-handed. Okay, so those are the 4 different types of nationals. Again, it's a lot of information. We're just going to slowly talk through it, and you guys could watch this 100 times if you'd like. So NorCal regattas, we start close, right? So NorCal regattas are at home. They're typically 1-day regattas. Okay, so it's a little bit easier. You need a skipper and a crew, so 2 people in order to sail. You could be a single sailor. Say, hey, it's just me. I'm the only person on my team. Great, we're going to assign you to somebody that has, 3 sailors from their school that want to sail. Okay, so NorCal regattas, you just need a team of 2. If you are this one single person, we put you with somebody, if possible, that is an odd pairing. Okay, and you'll see these are the regattas that are in the NorCal region, right, that are up here. PCISA regattas. So now we've gotten a little bit bigger, and now we're going to race against everybody that was in that blue picture, right? So there's people from Southern California. There could be people from Hawaii coming. There could be people from Colorado coming. Those are a little more restrictive because there are so many people that want to sail. So imagine 88 schools, and some schools are so big, some teams are so big, they want to have 3 teams at the regatta. You'd very quickly run out of water, right? So at the venues. So you need to have a team of 4 in order to compete at the PCISA regattas. We're going to go over in a little bit about, we do have an example of a team that doesn't have 4 and they're sailing at the regatta that's going to be at Treasure Island, the PCISA that's local at Treasure Island, the Golden Bear number 4. And we'll talk about that, and you are going to be turned into like a borrowed team. But think about the PCISA regattas as the next step up. You've sailed at home, you've learned to go around the race course, you've gotten good, you've convinced your buddies to join the team. So you started as a team of 1 or a team of 2 or a team of 3. Now you've graduated to race against everybody in the district. You've got a bigger team, and then you're going to the bigger regattas. Okay, now we have at PY, just to kind of throw a curveball to the high school sailing picture, and this is like the part that kind of gets everybody the first time they join us. They go, I just don't understand. So this is a non-high school regatta, has nothing to do with high school sailing, other than you sail in the same type of boat. So we have, 70 people that are sailing high school sailing, and let's say we have 15 people that can't make it to any of those high school regattas because of the different types of restrictions that exist. Perfect. We would love for you to go sailing at the Bays regattas. Bays stands for Bay Area Youth Sailing. It's the organization that kind of oversees all of the youth racing in the Bay. And they organize regattas in the winter and in the summer. And one of the types of boats that we sail at the Bays regattas is FJs. And so you do not have to have a team of anything. You could just be a single sailor. You go to the regatta at the Bays regattas representing PYSF. And so you could sail with somebody that is from a totally different team. You could sail with somebody that is, younger, there's no restriction other than you need to sail for PYSF. So this is a great opportunity for all of those single sailors or the ones that are newer to high school sailing. The next Bays is at SFYC, so San Francisco Yacht Club, Bays Winter Series, number 3. Okay, so here's our list of full teams. Full team simply means that you're able to do all the regattas. So you have at least 4 people on your team. Some people have, close to 20, and some people have 4. So perfect. These folks can do all the regattas if they wanted to. No restrictions, because you have enough to fill all the spots legally within the rules. This team right here is not actually in a high school yet. They're all 8th graders. So that's my one exception. They're not able to do all the PCISA regattas because they're not technically in high school yet. The way that 8th graders are involved is that high school sailing, so ISSA, the governing body, sees 8th graders as the feeder to the high school team. And so they want to make sure that teams don't just disappear. When somebody graduates, they're allowed to sail as a crew, and they're allowed to be an alternate as 8th graders. The NorCal regattas is a great way to be able to sail, again, because that's where you're trying to build up your teams. Okay, partial teams. These are people that have 3 or less. So there's a lot of you, and you're able to do the same regattas. It's just that when you go to the PCISA regattas, it's kind of like being an 8th grader almost, right? You can be a borrowed sailor, or you combine a team. Again, we'll talk about that in a second. And then these are our single sailor schools. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you. Last season, I think we had 11 or so, and it just kind of fluctuates. Maybe some people moved off of this list and they made it to the partial team list. So basically you are able, the Bays regattas are a for sure go-to. The NorCal regattas are probably going to work, and then going to a PCISA event is most likely not going to be happening, simply because you'd have to register your team with high school sailing, and there's a lot of other hoops that most likely our single sailors have not jumped through yet. Okay, I'm going to let Chris take over here and talk about pairings, kind of how people get put together.
All right, so I'm going to be working on the pairings for high school all through this season going forward. I will always prioritize the people who sign up first, right? You sign up first. I see that you're on that list. I'm going to get you into a pairing as quick as I can. I will also do pairings based on kind of how long you've been here, what your skill level is like, how tall you are, what size you are. Those kinds of things are very important, especially as the kids have probably noticed in the last couple of weeks, it's been very light. So we don't want to put the two biggest sailors together and then have two tiny sailors together. We want to kind of divide that up a little bit more. I will also try and, accommodate preferences. I know sometimes people don't necessarily like to sail with somebody else. I will take that into account and do the best I can, but we have to remember we are on a team still, and sometimes, we have to work as teammates and, do what we need to do to bring home that gold. So as Molly mentioned before, there are a couple different solutions we can make for teams that don't necessarily have 4 people. So again, those eighth graders, we can put into the schools. They can sail with the schools who they are intending to go to. So eighth graders can go to whatever, they can sail with the high school that they are intending to go to. Sorry, that was a little convoluted. Borrowed sailors. So those single sailors, if you have 3 people on the team and you just need one person to plop in there, we will do the best we can. But again, I have to have people sign up. So those signups that we send out on the website and through the sheets, you need to make sure that you put yourself down there so that we can really make those pairings. If you do it at the last minute, it's going to be very difficult for us to make pairings. So here we have the list of regattas that we have coming up. So we've already passed the Rose Bowl. We missed that one, unfortunately. We had no teams who could swing that one. We just did our NorCal number 5 and 6. And coming up, we have the PCISA Golden Bear. The next two, the Bays and the PCISA 5 in Santa Barbara, those, we have signups for those already. I would definitely recommend getting on that sign-up list as soon as possible. So again, so we can kind of get those pairings organized a little bit easier. And we can also reach out to people if we need, some nudging to get some additional people on the list. I know for this last one, DTech managed to get a few more people, and now they have 2 boats going. It's very exciting. Molly, can we jump to the next slide?
All right. Yep.
So the steps for competing. So you have to make sure that you are signed up. Your school is registered with ISSA. There is a fee involved in that. And so even if you are just a lone sailor and you want to be participating in the ISSA events or the PCISA events, you need to register. And it's better to share that with a team, right? That registration, but you intend to sail, got to get that first step. Then your next step is you have to sign up on those sign up geniuses, which we send out just so that you can register the interest. Now, when you have that, we form the pairings, and then usually a couple days before, we'll try and do it a little bit earlier than we did this time around. But we'll have that out a couple days beforehand so that you guys can get registered with PCISA when we finally release that list to you. And all of those pairings will be listed on that sheet, which we send out. And we will give you the final go-ahead to take that information and plug that in. We had a couple people ask for my information to sign up. That is all online. And my phone number is also in the signal. I set that today. Can we go to the next one?
Excellent. So, and then so number 4, the entering sailors into tech score. If you've never done a regatta yet, the reason I put this on here is that you do not need to worry about it. Most high schools have all the parents do it, and we have a lot of moving pieces. I mean, I think we're at 15 different schools or something right now. So it's actually easier on our end for the coaches to be in charge of the tech score. And for those that don't know, tech score is how you are entered into the system. And then when we do scores, like when you're looking on the weekend and you're checking the scores, that's how you're able to see your school name and your sailor's name. So again, that's kind of why you have to do step 1 in order to get all the way down to step 4. We can't have you sail until you're in the system. The only way to get into the system is to register your team. So I took a screenshot, Hannah took a screenshot for me, of a registration. So this is when, Chris has sent out, okay, great, the Google Sheet is up to date. Here are the pairings. And so then you are going to go to PCISA and you're going to register your team. And so this is what it looks like first. And you're going to list your name, what town you're from. The reason they're asking what town is because the people that are behind the scenes then see that you list, Redwood City, Woodside, Menlo, whatever it is, and then they email or text Chris or I with questions if they have questions. So that's the reason they put that there. Is this a combined team? So if you are, for example, for this coming up regatta, we have Gun, and they are sailing with another team that is actually not even part of PY. And the answer for that would be yes, because you're combining with another team. Gun didn't have for this weekend 4 sailors, they had 3. And in order to legally have them sail, they had to join another team that was a team of 2 or 3 or whatever it might be. So that's a combined team. The majority of our teams will always, for a PCISA event, the answer will be no. The reason they ask that question right there is because they need to know where you are paired with. And so that's when they find Chris and I and they go, okay, look, I see that Gun just registered and they said they're a combined team. Do they have another team to combine with? And if the answer is no, they don't have one, we as a district work to make sure that we find the 2 teams to join together. If we don't find the 2 teams, then that team can't sail. So there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. So again, we're trying to make it as simple for you. You just fill out the form and then we do the work behind the scenes for you. Will this team be borrowing a sailor from another team? So that's another example of, we've got the team of 3 that had 2 skippers and 1 crew. Ooh, we're so close. We can't quite do it. We need 1 more crew to borrow. So the answer would be yes. And again, they'd find Chris or I and say, hey, who's the borrowed sailor from? What school is that person from? And then team selection is kind of, as you scroll down on this form, the Google form or whatever it is, you are always going to be a varsity. Okay, so some, let's say we have a school that has 4 teams entering. They'll call themselves, Design Tech Varsity 1, Design Tech Varsity 2, Design Tech JV 1, and then Design Tech JV 2. Okay, so that's very rare for us. We don't have that many big teams. There's rules about how big you have to be before you can have team 1, team 2, team 3. And then all of us are currently sailing in Silver Fleet. Okay. Now, this is what the spreadsheet, this is like pieces of the spreadsheet. This is what it looks like when you go into the Google Sheet and you're trying to figure out like, okay, what's going on? My kid's name is Amira. And I know that Amira goes to con, but I don't know anything else. What am I supposed to do? Okay, Molly and Chris said, go register. I'm going to notice, great, I go to Con Lab. I'm going to make sure I find the correct regatta. See, Golden Bear at the top, the dates, great. We know the venue, we know the coaches that are going. There's my school. Okay, good. I'm in Silver Fleet. Maybe we're in Gold Fleet. Maybe you're in Silver. When you're in NorCal Regattas, we might be in a different fleet. So check the fleet. Boat number doesn't matter. That's for us. So we make sure you're using the right boat. A division and B division. So again, this is where we come with the 4 people needed. The way the PCISA events work is that half of the sailors are sailing at one time. So A division, so the first group is A division. They go out on the water. They typically do 2 races. They come back in, and B division gets in the boats and they go out and race 2 races. And so you swap back and forth, which is actually pretty cool. It allows you to watch the racing. It allows you to be coached on land. You're usually in a venue that like you can look out on the water and check everything out. It allows you, for those that have lots of homework, which lots of our kids do, it allows you some time to like, okay, I'm going to turn off for like an hour and I'm going to go do some homework. And then I'm going to come back in when Chris says, hey, Katie says, hey, you got to check in with us. And then turn your head back on and get ready to race. Or some people are so into it, there's no way you can do homework until you're off site. But this allows you to kind of switch back and forth. It also, if you'll notice, so Mira, for my example, has Matthias and Quinn. So typically you sail just with the 2 people, but it is like a coach's dream almost to have the alternates. It seems strange, like, well, wait a minute, like maybe they don't sail. True, but it's extra hands to help. And I guarantee you that, nobody has a great day all day long. Some people get a headache. Some people are like, man, I've done everything and I feel like I'm hitting my head against the wall. This is so confusing. I can't figure out the day. Great. Let's take a break and let's put in the alternate, right? They're going to go race a race and then we'll put you back in. So this allows a little more flexibility for kids to keep learning and get better and be able to watch from outside. And then if we look at the bottom, this last boat is our example of a combined team. So we have Gun, who's my example. Gun had the 3 sailors. There's 1 driver amongst the 3 of them currently. We're working on getting 2 drivers, but there's 1 driver right now. So they couldn't fill 2 divisions. And what is convenient about all of us talking to each other behind the scenes, the representative from McBride High School, the coach and parent rep, reached out to me and said, hey, look, I have a half a team. Do you have a half a team? Can we make this work? Which is fantastic, because then it allows us to say, great, we've got these 3 sailors from Gun and we don't have to tell them that they can't sail. So now they've paired together. Let's say McBride High School from Southern California didn't exist and didn't find us, and there was no other school to pair them with. The likelihood of them sailing at the PCISA event is low. The reason being, what do we do with that boat when the other half of the fleet is out sailing? And so they typically don't want people to be either standing in the water, holding the boat in at the sand, or potentially it's at a dock that might not be a great safe space for the boat to sit at for an hour. So typically the answer is that they won't do it unless you have another team to combine with. Chris, you are going to take over for the towing.
Right. So towing. We obviously can't race if we can't get our boats to the event. So we need to have people who are capable of tow the boats. It is very easy. I know it seems intimidating, and you feel like you have a lot of responsibility, but it's actually quite simple. If you just like keep your head out, watch your mirrors, all those things you should be doing when you're driving. It's very easy. And we would encourage everyone to please get a towing hitch. The last few events, we have actually been short on towers. And so we have had to leave a motorboat. Typically we want to have 2 motorboats, especially when, we have a gold fleet and a silver fleet, because otherwise we're not able to watch everybody and we're not able to really do the quality coaching that we want to do at regattas. So we'll always obviously sacrifice a motorboat, but we would really like to be able to bring the full force of PY to make sure that people are doing well at events. So just in general, all of our towing hitches use 2-inch balls and they all use 4 pins. So most places where you have it installed, like your dealership or your U-Haul and A and B trailers is a place locally. I believe it's in San Mateo. They just let them know that you would like a 2-inch ball with a 4-prong electrical connection. If you already have something set up in your car, sometimes they have like a multi-pin. It's like a 6-pin kind of thing. You have to get an adapter for that. So make sure that if you are planning to tow, that you bring whatever adapters you need. If you are feeling nervous about learning to tow, it's not a problem. You just let Molly or I know, and we will always be able to come down and give you a little lesson on how to do it and how to do it safely and some tips and tricks. The hardest part is backing a trailer. And, once you get those tricks under your belts, it's actually very simple. You should, as you can see over here on this other side, you should never assume that we have enough towers. We would always like to turn towers away rather than having to beg people to tow extra when they don't necessarily need to. Sharing the load is good. Sometimes, we'd like people to tow there and some people can tow back, but it gets very complicated if we're trying to negotiate with not enough towing hitches. So please, if you have a car that is capable of towing, I would highly recommend getting a hitch installed. And please, we would really appreciate that.
It's actually very common. We do a lot of lessons, and some folks do one lesson and it's, 30 minutes or so, and you drive around the parking lot and on the side streets, and then maybe then we send you out on the freeway and you get on the freeway and come back. And some people say that's great and I'm done and I feel good. And some people want to do that a couple times, which is totally fine. And we, again, have all different types of trailers. So you can see in this picture, there's a motorboat, obviously, right here. And then behind it is one of our 3-boat trailers with just one boat on it right there. When we go to the high school regattas, we'll take these 2 types of trailers. And when we go to, so we could have up to, usually about 6 is the most we would have at a high school regatta, 6 trailers. And when we go to a bays event, so remember that list of coaches where we had all these different coaches and all these different types of boats. When we go to a bays event, all those different boats are sailing. And so we could take 13, 14 different trailers. So again, we're now up to 28 different drivers is what we're looking for, so that everybody only has to drive one way. So this is definitely in your future if it's not already on your plate. So embrace it and schedule a time with us to get our practice in.
And just as another note as well, we had people last weekend who had never towed a trailer before just jump in and say, all right, let's do it. And they did just fine. They made it in one piece. And Treasure Island is actually, some of you know that turn is quite sketchy. And they did just fine.
I wanted to add one more thing that I think Molly usually tells everybody is that Chris mentioned like reversing a trailer. You almost never need to do that, especially if you're a brand new person. If you're experienced and you're like, yeah, I got this, no problem, great. But most of all, they have little tow wheels. So once you unhook the trailer, the kids can push it into where it needs to go. So if that's like your big point of like, oh my God, there's no way I can do that, don't worry. You will not have to reverse a trailer.
Excellent. And then Chris, so at regattas, like we were saying, there's a lot of downtime for the sailors, and this is for the parents. What are parents thinking about when they're going to an event?
So you can hang out and you can watch, or you can totally skedaddle for the day and go do what you would like to go do. If you don't want to watch, totally fine. Just make sure you are on that signal chat. We will usually let you know when we are starting to come in. We also have the schedule, right? If you just make sure you are closer to around the time that the event says that it's going to be done. On Sundays, there was cutoff time. So there will always be a general time you need to be back for. If you do want to watch, there are usually good places. At Treasure Island, especially this weekend, would be a great opportunity to watch racing because we're going to be right in Clipper Cove. There's tons of places along the shore to watch. You can even go up the mountain and watch from a bird's eye view. It'd be super cool. But I would highly recommend, if you want to watch, bring some binoculars, bring a comfortable chair, bring some snacks. It is a all-day event. So, you're going to be sitting there for a couple hours. I would make sure you are prepared for those couple hours. There's a lot of teams that also coordinate dinners afterwards and that sort of thing. We typically don't do that as a PY group. That's typically a individual school thing, but you are more than welcome to do that and hang out and chat and watch your kids sail.
Especially that's kind of more for when you start traveling to the PCISA events, right? So everybody's, you scatter, you all go to your different hotels. Maybe you're organized and everybody's all in the same hotel. And then having kind of a group dinner is kind of nice to have some food and drink and be together without our life jackets and our, pennies on and such. So excellent. Okay. That was a lot of information. This page, so basically this is our info to find us. You'll see the signal chat is really the best way to get us. The other part of the signal chat, so there can be a lot of questions, right? So you look at the signal chat and you're like, oh my goodness, you check in and it's like, I have 67 unread messages or notifications or whatever. If you are asking something specific for your child, like, hey, whatever it might be, message us offline. You know, a lot of the time, and sometimes you'll enter into the chat and be like, great, and then we'll immediately go offline to try and minimize the questions that are specific to one person. If we think, you know, somebody's messaging me on the side and I'm like, you know what, there's probably 40 people that would benefit from this answer, I'm going to then write it into the chat for everyone to see. The goal is that the group chat that has all of the high school sailors on it or all of the high school parents on it, that's information that we all need for the moment. If there's a specific question of like, hey, you know, I don't quite understand this registration, that's a great thing to do offline to Chris, myself, or Hannah. We can all answer those questions for you. Private coaching, a lot of people ask us this. We do offer it. You just need to talk to the coaches and say, hey, look, I've just started, and you know, my team, it's like the gun example. There's the 3 sailors and we don't have 2 solid drivers yet to go. So, you know, they're saying, hey, we want to do some private lessons to be able to have a team that could fill both A and B division. Great. We're going to find some time in the pretty packed schedule, but we'll find some time to get some private lessons. So coordinating with the coach if you would like that. And now I am going to open it up for questions. And remember, everybody is on mute. So if you have a question, you can put it in the chat or you can ask us now. Look at that, 5:45. Good job, guys.
So we have a question in the chat, and that says, can you sign up for a regatta if you are only available one of the 2 days?
Can I jump in here for that? So as you can see in that little example that we set, Con Lab has 1 sailor, one of their crews is going on Sunday and one is going on Saturday. If you have that sort of arrangements where you can make that work, yes. However, if you are on a team of 4 and, you know, if you are not able to go one of those days, that means you can go on Saturday, but you can't go on Sunday. That means your team doesn't have enough people for the Sunday. So that will not work. So there can be specific accommodations made, but you have to make sure that you have all your representatives or have enough representatives for your team. More often than not, the answer to that question will be no.
Again, there's so many moving pieces that saying, oh, hey, I want to go, but I can't quite do it all. When there becomes so many moving pieces, we go for what is the solid answer. Great. Here's a full team. They're ready to go sailing. Next question, or a question in the chat was, what are the PCC regattas at the end? So PCC stands for Pacific Coast Championship. So that is the culmination of the year. So you would have, and they have one for Gold Fleet and for Silver Fleet. So most of our PCISA events, all of our fleets are in silver, all of our teams, are in silver. So we have our silver PCCs, and that is all of the Silver Fleet teams race against each other to kind of say, you know, hey, I'm the best Silver Fleeter of the West Coast District. And if you are in Gold Fleet, you are doing the same thing, and you're saying, hey, great, I am the best of the, Gold Fleet. And the extra carrot for Gold Fleet is that then you are qualifying for nationals. So Silver Fleet, you're not quite qualifying for nationals, but it's still a pecking order. Let's say you're finishing in the top 5 of Silver Fleet consistently for the year. This regatta, that last PCCs, is really important because going into that next school year, you then can say, hey, PCISA, I just had an awesome year. My whole team, we crushed it. And we went to silver PCCs. We finished, second. Can we move up to gold? And then once you're in gold, then you can race to try and make it into nationals. The other PCC regatta and that we are actually hosting is the team race PCCs. And so remember when I said there are 4 different nationals? So there's fleet racing, which is the majority of what we do at PY, and there's also team racing, and team racing is a team of 3 boats, so you need 6 sailors from your school, team of 3 racing against another team of 3 at once. And so you guys are jockeying and using rules and boat handling and boat speed, like you're using all of it. Really, if you talk to anybody that's our age as coaches, the best part of college sailing and high school sailing is team racing. Super fun. It puts everything all together. And it's what all of our alumni come to me and we're like, can you please just run team races for us? So team racing is awesome. We do have to have teams of 6 in order to do it. Next question, do the coaches let students know which regatta they are eligible? And that was an offline question. Yes, so we tell Chris, Hannah, Todd, Jack, all the coaches that you're seeing every day at practice, we give the updates to the sailors. And at PY, I didn't put this slide in this this presentation, but we are very much kid centered. So we do everything we can to, in a way, not involve mom and dad. And that is impossible for what we do, right? You're towing a lot of the trailers, you're signing them up, you're paying the bills, you're getting them to practice. We fully understand that really none of this happens without you, but we want it to be completely the kids' sport. So they take ownership. They come to the coaches and say, hey, look, what can I do better? Where can I improve? We're always going to want to talk to the sailors first. We're going to update them. When parents come to one of us, a parent comes to me and asks me a question, I typically will get the kid there before I answer the question, or I'll copy them into the email, because again, I'm trying to teach them to be the owner of this sport. I hope that answers that question. And I think Chris, and I can see the coaches nodding like, yep. So for beginner sailors, the only regatta still upcoming this spring is Bays Winter number 3. So if you are, and this is actually a Pally parent, am I correct? I think I'm looking at a Pally parent. Pally actually, yes, perfect. So if you'd like to do the other regattas that are coming up, you need to have Pally registered with ISSA. So remember those 4 steps. Register Palo Alto, register your school in the database, and then you are capable of racing in those regattas. So the other regatta that we are hosting is the NorCal Divisional Champs. That is like a mini version of a PCISA event. So you need an A and a B division, but it's a NorCal regatta as well. So it's a little bit easier for us to pair smaller schools together. So they'll probably at the NorCal Divisionals Championship, there will be a number of combined teams to make the A's and the B's. And they want us to do that because the point of the regatta is to keep building up the teams, for us to kind of teach the smaller teams, hey, this is what a PCISA regatta will look like once you have 4 people. And 2 of the sailors are brand new, fantastic, but 2 of the sailors can drive. So you really actually, the Pally is a good example of you have 4 people and you are ready to go. No. The question, I don't know if everybody's seen that in the chat. It says, I thought the NorCal Divisional Champs were for sailors who had previously won something. No, you do not need to sail into the event. It's just like the silver PCCs. You don't need to have sailed in, qualified to get into the silver PCCs. You can go simply by being a team. So that is a regatta for you guys, and it's at home, which is even better. So you're literally sailing in the boats from home, no trailers, sleep in your own bed. You know the waters because we've sailed in them all season. Any other questions? I got a direct question about pairings, and it's basically saying like, how do we team people together? I suggest going back to the page about how do we pair people. Chris did a good explanation of, we talk about size, we talk about experience, we talk about chemistry, we talk about, there's like a bunch of things that go into it. We also factor in what the sailors tell us, right? So there's lots of different factors, and the longer advance notice we have for the group of people that want to do the regatta, a lot easier it is for us to do a great pairing versus, oh man, we had 2 people randomly just tell us at the last minute, okay, those 2 are going to be together. So that's why those signups are actually pretty important. The sooner you can tell us, great, I'm ready to go to this event, put me in coach, we'll put you into a spot.
Molly, do you want to talk about where you can find this recording for people who came in late or?
Yes, I will put it in. It usually takes a little bit to come from Zoom, but I will be putting it into the Signal chat and also send an email out as well. So expect that probably later tonight. And if not, tomorrow morning. Depends on how my 2 small children are doing when I end this call. Fantastic. I think we it looks like I answered all those questions off my chat. Any other questions? Thank you all for joining, and we're going to be seeing you next week for practice. All of our new folks that just signed up over the last week, we are going to be sending you an email just to follow up and make sure we get yourself registered for the rest of the season. And we look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Thank you, everybody.
I'm sorry if you're still there. Can I ask a question?